Hello team and welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video and myself John from MS Piss. Ukraine War. It's going to be a breaking news update piece that I should have done last night, but it's Saturday night, didn't have time, and I've got to take one of my boys up to a rugby match somewhere a little bit up country today, so I won't be able to do my news pieces until a lot later today, so apologies for that. But I want to speak to you about this strike on a ship in a Kerch shipyard near the Kerch Bridge, right? So what happened? Well, I showed you some videos in yesterday's news piece, well, actually in my frontline update, because it came out yesterday afternoon, concerning a Russian ship in Crimea at the Kerch shipbuilding yard. The missile carrier ship Askold received at least 3 arrivals, says Peacetime 11. This ship is one of the newest and most modern ships of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. It was laid down in 2016 in the Kerch shipyard Zaliv and launched only in 2021. To understand, in addition to 8 launchers for the caliber, it is armed with its own air defense system, the Pantsir M air defense system, and the All-Land 10 UAV drone complex for reconnaissance. So this is a big hit. Let's do a little bit of a chat about this. Interestingly, they paint the back end black there to confuse drones, I believe, with the length of the boat. So that's an anti-drone measure, as far as I understand. Right, anyway. Special Kherson Cat says, Russian MED confirmed that a ship was, quote, damaged during today's missile attack on Kerch shipyard. Earlier, Ukrainian sources reported that Russian Karakurt-class corvette Project 22800 Askold was targeted. Presumably, Scalp missiles were used during the attack. There's the French version of the cruise missile of the Storm Shadow. The Storm Shadow is the British version, made by the same French company, to be fair. Construction of Askold began in the Zaliv shipyard in Kerch on July the 26th, 2016. The ship was launched, as mentioned, on September the 21st, but work on the ship was still ongoing. It's worth mentioning that, it's armed with those missiles we talked about previously. Now, a summary of what happened according to Osint Yuri. So, at approximately 5:30 in the afternoon, it's believed that 4 Ukrainian Air Force Su-24 bombers launched 8 Storm Shadow or Scalp cruise missiles from positions most likely over the Dnipropetrovsk Oblast between Kryvyi Rih and Dnipro. If true, and it looks like they were used, the missiles would have to be the longer range version of the Storm Shadow or Scalp with a published range of 400 kilometers. If the Ukrainians did not launch Storm Shadow missiles, then the weapon use is unknown. Simultaneously, Ukrainian Air Force MiG-29 and or Su-27 aircraft fired multiple AGM-160 mold decoy missiles and AGM-88 HARM anti-radar missiles to confuse and attack, respectively, Russian air defense. So the idea that alongside the cruise missiles, they were sending decoy missiles to confuse air defense, so the air defense would shoot at the decoy missiles, and usually that you'd shoot them probably just before the cruise missiles. Then the air defenses are exhausted, you attacking the decoy missiles, then the cruise missiles get through. But also HARM missiles, so there's anti-radiation missiles that home in on radiation used by air defense systems and then take out the air defense system. So this looks like a coordinated attack. So secondly, Russian sources immediately began reporting that the Crimean bridge was attacked, but locals instead reported explosions and smoke in the area of the Zaliv shipyard. As a result, it is clear that the Crimean bridge was never the intended target. Interesting. We'll pump this into the map as well. Let's go and just do that now. Let that happen. Okay, no, it's not doing it on Google, so this is where it is on my map, and it's going to be important because actually the position is something of note. Right, so remember that's the Kerch Bridge is operational around here, so that is very close to the Kerch Bridge. Okay, so just to continue, as a result, it is clear the Crimean Bridge was never the intended target in the attack. Instead, it appears the Ukrainians were targeting the 22800 Karakurt-class corvette Askold and or the shipyard itself instead. The ship, which is a caliber missile carrier and one of the most modern and advanced vessels in the Black Sea Fleet, was located afloat at the shipyard from which it had been launched in 2021, currently undergoing sea trials. Video evidence from the Kerch area showed Russian air defenses engaging targets and at least one large explosion at or near the shipyard. Russian sources claim that debris from a rocket hit a storage shed or workshop at the shipyard. However, there are multiple reports that the Askold was hit and damaged during the attack. but there is no objective evidence of it. Images from later in the evening showed a glowing area similar to a fire near where the Askold was moored. Confirmation of damage to the Askold and or Zalivy shipyard will most likely not be made until clear satellite imagery is available. Now, satellite imagery does show that there's a 66-ish meter vessel. There was one there yesterday, and the Askold is a 67-meter vessel. So that is pretty good confirmation that it was there. That was yesterday's satellite imagery, and you can see burning at the shipyard yesterday. So you add two and two together, and it seems like that's what has happened. Regarding the missile attack in Kerch, information has appeared that a small missile ship received at least 3 hits. Is now the general claim, and the commander of the Ukrainian Air Force would like to thank the pilots of the tactical aviation of the Air Force of Ukraine for the successful strikes by cruise missiles on the infrastructure of the Zalivy shipyard in Kerch, where one of the most modern ships of the Russian Navy was stationed, the Caliber cruise missile carrier. He also hinted the blow was inflicted by French Scalp EG missiles. Interesting stuff there. So that gives you some more context. Tim White says, the Russians eventually admitted a strike on the shipyard in Kerch. Kremlin claimed, so the claim from the Russians is that 15 cruise missiles were fired, with 13 being shot down by air defense. Amazing air defense activity by the Russians. The occupiers also confirmed a ship was damaged. So it's going to be too difficult for them to get away with claiming that the ship wasn't damaged when evidence will surely come out, right? So they have to admit that. So it's about admitting that in the best possible light. It's like, okay, we're forced to say the ship's been damaged, but if we say 1 million missiles were fired and 999,999 of them were shot down by our amazing air defense, then we look as good as we possibly can. That's the kind of rationale going on, as far as I would understand it. And now claims are coming out that the ship in Kerch did not even have time to participate in combat operations, according to Speaker of the Air Force, Yuri Ignat. So he says, essentially, the Askold, which was hit in Kerch, did not have time to take part in the hostilities. Quote, he went through, she went through some final test work there so that later she would go out and fight against our country. There's not one that's been used yet. However, this is Caliber cruise missile capability being taken out. That's a lot of alliteration there. Being taken out in the Black Sea. And this is a significant hit. And it's also significant because it shows that Ukraine has the ability to reach the area of Russia's illegal Crimean bridge, according to Glasnost Gone here. And this is huge news. The harbour area, which appears to have been hit, is just south of the bridge. And I just showed you that. So you've got the bridge there, and you've got the harbour area here that has been hit. It does indeed show that if they wanted to hit the bridge, they could hit the bridge. Glasnost Gone continues, the high crane gantry, blue, and several tall cranes near it are seen in the image. So that area is seen from that image you've just glimpsed. Seen in the image, the people filming are on the harbour beach on the opposite side. So, yeah, the harbour beach on this side. That's where that imagery is coming from. And you've got the Kerch Bridge just north of there. So the image comes across there, burning over here. Ship has definitely at least been damaged, one would think, if the Russians are admitting that. But the point is that, and this goes to talk to what I mentioned the other day, which is that the Russians, as you know, the Ukrainians admit themselves, the Russians should be worried because the Ukrainians can hit Kerch. They just don't want to hit it yet. It's just not right for them to hit. They would rather hit other things. So that's interesting. So why not hit the Kerch? I've talked about before how, you know, you build a golden bridge for the enemy if they want to get away, escape, retreat. So it's the idea that if they blew that bridge up, then Russians wouldn't be able to get off Crimea, and you actually want them to get off Crimea. You want to say, look, here's your route, go, go, go. And meanwhile, hit. I think personally, it's the right decision. It's more important to hit targets like that ship, like other shipbuilding or ship repair facilities or other moored vessels. The problem with cruise missiles like that is they're really better suited to hitting stationary targets. If you have a ship in transit, then that's going to be more difficult to hit. You want to use anti-ship missiles for that, really, which they do have. But of course, if they're moving out of Sevastopol and down to elsewhere in the Black Sea towards the west, then it's much more difficult for the Ukrainians to hit that. The range is possibly too far. It is from the Ukrainian shores, it's some 300 kilometers away to hit moving vessels around Sevastopol. Anyway, that's just a bit of context, a bit more information about the strike yesterday. That was a really serious strike for the Russians. They've taken a big hit there. There are also other claims, and I'd go through that in the news, of an award ceremony, a Ukrainian military award ceremony, being hit by a missile, by an Iskander-M, some sort of 20 kilometers behind the front line or something like that. Just very close. Not a good look for the Ukrainians, where they lost over 20 troops in that strike. And that's doing the rounds as well. That's a terrible loss for the Ukrainians. So there are two separate incidences, one for each side. But the Russians losing such a modern warship on the Black Sea, and it being a cruise missile carrier, is a big blow for the Russians. Anyway, I don't know when I'll be able to get the news videos done for you, but they shall be out later today at some point. Take care. Speak soon.